Hello friends, operator Starsky with a daily update from Kyiv, Ukraine. Because mentally Russians are still stuck in 1947, their airstrike was predicted 3 hours before it happened tonight. According to the Ukrainian Air Force, 15 Russian cruise missiles and 21 Iranian Shahed drones were intercepted overnight by the air defense. The air alert officially ended around 4 a.m. Not a single object in Kyiv was hit. Also, there were no reports of killed or injured civilians. In the suburbs, however, the falling debris injured several civilians, but luckily no deaths were reported. The initial investigation confirmed that a mother and her daughter that were killed yesterday by the Russian missile debris were unable to enter the shelter because the security kept it closed. The chief of the hospital where the shelter was located, as well as his security, were arrested and will face justice. Hopefully, they will have enough time in prison to think on what they've done, and this will be a good lesson for everyone, because war is no joke. Meanwhile, people in Kyiv brought flowers to the location where this young mother and her kid were murdered by the Russians, and we all realized that until the Russians keep shooting their missiles at civilians, neither Ukrainian children nor the European kids can truly feel safe. It was reported that 540 Russian terrorists in Ukraine were eliminated in the past 24 hours, as well as 15 Russian tanks and 27 artillery systems. If you're using Telegram, you can see most of them on the Ukrainian monitoring channels. Also, the war came to the Russian land. The Russian freedom fighters continue obliterating the forces of the fascist Russian regime around Belgorod. According to the recent reports, their tanks already reached the outskirts of the Russian town of Shebekino. And the Russian partisans reported that the local Russian law enforcement and military organized a meeting to coordinate their efforts and were shelled all together in the same building. What a coordination! Meanwhile, in the Russian city of Kursk, the Russian air defense system Panzer hit the Russian residential area. The locals provided footage showing a launch stage of the Russian surface-to-air missile that hit a building. Together with Belgorod, Kursk and Bryansk oblasts, the war came to the Russian Smolensk and Kaluga oblasts, where explosions were reported and several oil factories were hit. Apparently, the Russians can expect a pleasant summer vacation exactly the way they deserved it. And I was just hit by a sudden thought that the majority of the Russian soldiers who were sending their loot back to Russia last year and bragging about all the things that they've stolen from the Ukrainian civilians must be already dead. I'm imagining this hypothetical Russian widow who traded the life of her husband for a used LG microwave stolen in Bucha somewhere because she cannot buy one in Russia anymore. More than 1,000 companies ceased their operations in Russia as of today, including MasterCard, Visa, all of the most recognized car producers, Nvidia, AMD, Apple, Nokia, Canon, Amazon, and most importantly, Adidas. Not like the Russians were buying the actual Adidas, though, like at the stores. But anyways, the Russian publics report that in the Russian Chukotka you can now only buy eggs after showing your ID. Finally, the God has heard the Russian prayers and they can live exactly like in 1984 in the Soviet Union. I think it's an enormous, absolutely incredible achievement reached by every single citizen of Russia supporting the terrorism in just a year and a half. And they can do much, much better than that. My name is Operator Starsky. As always, be safe.